Much as I hate to interrupt the Who. Yeah! There we go. That'll have to work. I love the fact that light is always above my head. It makes me look a little bit more saintly than I really am. Alrighty. Yeah. Let me just turn down the hill to make sure that I can be heard. Alrighty. So, where am I now? This is the second stream that I've been doing today. In the first stream, we did some really creative things where we made earrings because I had leftover beads. I felt like being creative earlier this afternoon. I really didn't have any other obligations to finish, So today, I thought I was going to do a full-on streaming experience where we're doing something creative that doesn't involve knitting, just for the sake of happenstance. So if you'd like to turn into the stream and watch me knit, great. I appreciate you for that. You can usually catch when I do knit, as that's typically what shows in the stream. It's just a rather creative experiment that we're doing today. That's right, I said experiment. I should have said experiment because that's how it's really pronounced. Tomato, tomato, you know how it goes. Anyway, so today we're going to be doing two things. We're going to be making peanut butter and chocolate chip cookies. We're also going to be making gigante beans with a spicy tomato sauce. And I'm going to be going through and discussing exactly how I'm going to be making them as time goes on, but it should take me about 2 hours or fewer. So without further ado, we're going to get right to it. First things first, I was taught when I was in culinary school that if you're preparing two dishes, a dinner and dessert, or even an appetizer and a main course, whatever it may be, always prepare the second of the courses first. Because if it's a dessert and a main course that you're preparing, doing the dessert first, make sure that you get it completed and then it's cooling, and then it's already done and set, so that even if you're running late with the main course, you don't have to run doubly as late when it comes to serving dessert. On the other side of it, when you are making an appetizer and a main course, if you do the main course first, then you have enough time to finish the appetizer and get that out to people so it's nice and fresh and ready to go. The main course will soon follow. Hello, I miss what I'm making. That shirt is amazing. Yes, exactly. And I don't like doing anything political, but I just found it quite poignant. Mr. Fartbrains, do exclamation point menu, and you will see what I'm going to be making. So it's going to be an adaptation of what I made last time I did a cooking stream, plus I'm doing a main course. And I'm starting off with doing the dessert first, because that way it's going to be done and ready and cool and enjoyable after the main course is already completed. So there you go. And, of course, I have Roger Daltrey streaming into my computer. Because why else? Why not? All right. So, if you didn't already get it, the recipe for the flourless chocolate chip cookies are going to be in my Discord. But if you want to make a snapshot of it right here, this is the recipe that I am following. From the original recipe, I'm going to make a few adaptations. First, I have a lot of powdered sugar. I don't have a lot of granulated sugar. So I'm going to be doing a substitution of about 2 3/4 cups of granulated sugar instead of, of confectioner sugar rather than the granulated. The rule of thumb there is that you use 1.5 cups of confectioner sugar to replace 1 cup of granulated. It's just how it works out by volume and sweetness, because I'm sweet enough as it is, baby. You know that. And also, I'm going to be adding a few spices and some chocolate to this recipe, which shouldn't change the overall outcome. It just makes the flavors work better together. So without further talking, because I've been talking way too much, let's get it rolling. 2 camera setup, kablamo, and there's my crotch. That's not why people tune in. No, not at all. All right, so I'm going to do my best to show what I can on stream. You just have to let me know what's going on. So there's a mixing bowl into which we're going to add the first major ingredient. And the first major ingredient is mixing spoons on the floor. The first ingredient that we're going to do is powdered sugar, because I have a lot of it that I'm trying to get rid of. All right, so this is what? This is 2 pounds and some ounces that I'm trying to clear out, and this is probably going to be the best way that I can do that. Dang, that was fancy. All right, so now that we have the Who done, because you never, ever interrupt Roger Daltrey. It's a crime. In fact, I still think it's a crime in 43 of the contiguous United States to interrupt the Who. Let's get some chill music going on so we got something to vibe with as we cook. And as you have questions, by all means ask as we go. because this is going to be a 1-4-3 double play of food to carry over the baseball talk. Whatever. It's catchy. I'm talking too much, but that's what we do here. Alright, insurance plan. I'm no good for you. So in the earlier stream today, I was doing some bead work, and I had the unfortunate circumstance that some of the beads fell onto my computer keyboard, which is not a big deal because they're not big enough to get into the computer, but if they get onto the keys or onto the hinge, and I were to close the machine, that would have caused some major damage. And in my line of work, fixing a computer screen on this model computer cost about $700, no, $450, something like that. $700 if there's liquid damage. And I paid about that much for the computer, so you go figure. Alright, so I'm going for about 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. Yeah, that's 1 cup. Now, confectioner's sugar is interesting because it's not just pulverized sugar, it also has cornstarch in there, so that when you mix in any water, there is a binder that's in it. So it's not a perfect substitution for granulated sugar, but because of the cornstarch acting as a bit of a binder, when I add the egg, it's going to come together a lot more easily in the oven. So I don't have to worry about chemical leavening as much. It's all chemistry, all sorts of boring stuff. I really like teaching people about scorecards, so I got really excited. So yeah, Mr. Fartbrains, on your stream you spoke about doing the scorecards and keeping track of the game, which, you're right, it's the ultimate way to keep track and have a souvenir of the game as it was. I think there have been some streams this year, or some broadcasts where the Mets commentator, former first baseman Keith Hernandez, showed various scorecards of Mets games from years gone by that were quite memorable. And I think it was it must have been in 2017 when it happened, when they had, it was before, no, it was earlier this year, before Cabrera was traded. They had Cabrera and, was it Flores? Somebody between shortstop and first base. And they kept on switching them. So between batters, they kept on switching shortstop and second base over and over and over again. So the scorecard would read something like 4-6, 4-6, 4-6, 4-6 for a particular player and to get an inning because they kept on swapping their positions back and forth. Music is a touch loud. Hopefully that's a bit better. So there's a lot of this stream that I'm kludging. I have the phone playing the music because I'm trying to conserve as much battery power as possible. But anyway, first things first, I'll eat your brains and I'm start rocking gold teeth and fangs. All right. So that is 2 cups. Now I'm going to do a scant half cup. Yeah, there we go. All right. I don't keep track of positions and shifts, gets me too much. Yeah, but I think it was the case that they were trying to protect somebody who was covering second/short that hasn't played infield before. I think it was like a weird one, like they had Conforto playing the infield because there were like too many injuries or something like that happened that game. But it was still a very interesting statistic that it occurred. All right, so I have about 2 2/3 cups of confectioner's sugar in the bowl. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add the rest of the dry ingredients. So before I add the eggs or peanut butter, I'm going to add the salt and everything and get it all whisked in. All right, so 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I don't have to be too precise with it because, again, there's cornstarch that's in. Yeah, there we go. There's cornstarch that's in the sugar, so I don't have to worry about the baking soda powder difference. Baking soda is just a base. It interacts with the acid to create leavening. Baking powder is a acid and base in one. So as soon as moisture and heat come with it, that's when the leavening happens. I don't have to worry too much about the acidity in this because of the cornstarch. Scoring spring training games with 100 subs is the best. Yeah, the only place I like seeing 100 subs is in a deli. I'm sorry, but if I'm hungry, that's probably the best place to go. Okay, 1 teaspoon of salt. I don't have kosher salt, so I have to substitute for granulated, and I go a little overboard. Salt and peanut butter, perfect. They go hand in hand. I'm fine with that. Now come the interesting parts. I'm adding a little bit of cinnamon in there, about 2 teaspoons worth. A little bit of ginger. A little bit of allspice. Because the last time I did this with allspice and clove, it ended up overpowering, so I think I just added, yep, I added the wrong spices in there, but you know what, that's fine, I can make do. And there's the ginger. Alrighty, I think that's all of the dries I'm going to add. So, by the way, cinnamon, ginger, clove, and allspice. Those are pumpkin spices right there, people. You don't have to worry about buying an expensive latte to experience it. All you just need is something from your standard cabinet. All of the spice, yes. These are the spices, girls. All right. So right now, even though these are all dries, whisking is probably my best way to get rid of any little lumps so that before I start with the eggs and the peanut butter in the next step, we're all good. This is still raw, so I'm not going to dip my finger in there and eat it. But this is probably the best way that I can get rid of any sort of lumps. Alrighty, so now what I'm going to need are 2 eggs. And 2 cups of peanut butter. So first, the eggs. 1. 2. And I don't need the whisk anymore. Have you ever tried whisking peanut butter? Not fun time. So the 2 eggs go in. Let me get my towel. I'm right now resting the second webcam on top of a roll of paper towels, and I'm too tempted to go after it, but if I do, the camera's going to go spinning, and nobody wants to experience that. Here we go. 2 cups peanut butter. Ain't this nice? I don't know if we had this conversation before, MFB, but do you like to make cookies? Have to load the dishes and fold some laundries. We'll be lurking, listening. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I was telling this, every time I work with peanut butter or have peanut butter sandwiches or speak to any friends, family about peanut butter, I always tell them the story about work, wherein whenever we get new hires into my office, what we do is that we give them a fun little, what's called hot seat. And the idea is to learn a bit more about the new hire. And we ask them, non-consequential, fun trivia questions. Raven White, welcome. Hello. But when we would ask them the questions, it would be silly ones like Star Trek or Star Wars. What's your favorite color? Most interesting place you've been to on vacation? You know, very short, sweet answers that in the span of 5 minutes you can learn a lot about that new person. And, you know, it's just fun. But one of the questions that always comes up in those hot seats is peanut butter, crunchy or creamy. And you would think that it's a major political question because the responses are always just too much. You would have people cheering if the new employee said, I like crunchy or creamy peanut butter. By the way, this is the first of 2 cups of peanut butter that go into this. By the way, Raven White, if you haven't already, if you are a member of the Discord channel, you may be able to get the recipe for the cookies. I am making slight adaptations in that I am adding confectioner sugar rather than granulated sugar, which means I also change the quantity of sugar. And I've also added some pumpkin spices to make this more autumnal and unique in terms of peanut butter cookies. These are really yummy and great. Even if the jar from which I'm trying to achieve the peanut butter is not being very cooperative. It's the only messy part about this recipe is I end up with more peanut butter in my fingers than in actual cookies. Might just toss the actual pumpkin spice in there. Well, yeah, I was mentioning that if you go to the stores and you look up things like poultry seasoning, apple pie seasoning, apple pie spice, pumpkin spice, there's actually the supermarket spice aisle that would have some of these. But if you read the tag, you might realize that if you've done a bit of baking at your home before, you might have those spices already in your cabinet. So, pumpkin spice is essentially a combination of clove, allspice, cinnamon, ginger, maybe nutmeg, and I think I've just exhausted this jar of PB. So rather than spending all that money, you can get the individual spices, and in the long run, it might be a worthwhile investment. All right. So that's 1 jar of peanut butter down. Gonna let that soak. And by the way, when it comes to this recipe, it really doesn't matter if you use crunchy or creamy peanut butter. It just depends on whether or not you want to experience some bits of peanuts in your cookie. So I find it not mattering. Today I'm using all creamy peanut butter because I like creamy peanut butter. I'm sorry if you're a smooth peanut butter fan, people, but okay, there we go. Probably a little too much peanut butter, but who is counting? All right. You make your own mixed spices? Are there any particular spices that you like to mix up? I wish I had my kitchen towel, not to use paper towels. I think you end up with more peanut butter on you on purpose. Yes, yes. It's what I call a sticky situation. So as I'm cooking, I'm putting things away if I don't need them anymore. Just my way to stay organized. And again, I'm doing the dessert first. Because if you do the dessert first, then it's baking, cooling, doing what it's got to do, and you can spend time on making dinner. So now, the final ingredient. Now, I'm not going to use the whole bag of chocolate chips. I did want to point out something. Let me use back. Oh, these are huge. Yeah, I'm not going to use the entire bag. Let me take a look. I'm making Italian for my pasta sauce, and I just make a pumpkin spice because I love everything pumpkin. Me too. Me too. So here's something that's funny. And again, none of these brands I'm talking about are sponsoring me or this stream or anything along that line. But this is a bag of, let me see if I can get it on camera there, dark chocolate morsels. But if you look here, it says 53% cacao. Now, for me, milk chocolate is measured at about 30–35% cacao. Dark chocolate is usually measured 60 to 75%. Extra dark is usually above 75%. So when I look at 53, that doesn't measure as dark to me. That's a blend. So when I saw 53%, which is my favorite chocolate to snack on, I jumped right on it. But it's kind of a misnomer. It's not really dark. It's semi-sweet. It's that place in between. Your favorite chocolate bar is 100. In that case, I should send this to you, Mr. Fartbrains. This is Callebaut unsweetened, broken, 100% cacao death right here. I mean, for me, this is not just bitter, it's also somewhat flavorless because there's no sugars really in there or fats to really carry the flavor. It just tastes like I'm chewing on coffee beans. Not a bad thing. I like the bitter flavor, I like the bitter profile, but I have no idea what to do with that. Yeah. So anyway, back at the ranch. We are almost done with making the cookie batter, which is also really cool because, I'm stamping on the eggs right now to break them up. Because there's no flour in this at all, I don't have to worry about developing gluten or anything that might make cookies typically tough. Only thing I have to do is just make sure that all the sugar is dissolved and all the peanut butter is taken care of and incorporated, and the whole mixture is somewhat smooth. So right now it doesn't really look very appetizing, but just you wait. I'm gonna add more chocolate chips. Never add in a full bag of chocolate chips in the cookies because as you spoon out the cookies, the ones toward the end of the batch for some reason tend to have fewer chocolate chips. So save any chocolate chips when you make cookies to the very end, sort of like as a cookie insurance, if you will. But anyway, I'm trying to be very careful because one time I mixed cookies where the dough was so tough, the spoon broke, and I was so desperate and so craving for cookies that I didn't feel like going in and fishing out any tiny wood particles that may have broken off from the spoon into the cookies, but don't worry. I would never, ever serve my friend wood. Yes, you heard that on my stream. I would never serve friends wood. Wah, wah. Keeping it PG. Let's keep it classy. Let's keep it classy. I get Enjoy Live chocolate chips. They have no dairy and have a nice flavor. Found the link for the 100% bar if I can link. Pardon me, one moment. Permit, Mr. Okay, hopefully that works. And thank you for the link. I'll check it out. I'm going to open it in a new tab because there we go. I put a paper towel on my keyboard to avoid it from getting all skeeved out. All right. I am actually hungry right now, so this is a good time to make these cookies. My word. Now, there is raw egg in this, so I'm trying to avoid any temptation to dip my fingers in that. All right, how are we doing on them beans? 7 minutes left on the beans. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. I got myself a ice cream scoop. So this beloved little ice cream scooper is a 2 tablespoon scoop. So I'm going to make all the cookies from this. I'm just going to spoon them right in. No sugar, but somehow amazing. It's witchcraft. Well, the darker the chocolate, the more bitter it is. And to be honest, I don't have anything to... I don't have anything against it being bitter, but for me, the less cocoa solids or the less sugars or so forth that are in there, the less flavor I'm getting, the less that there is to carry it. So I top out at about 80%. At least that's what's available. Because anything beyond that, and I just can't taste. Hashtag poor me. All right, so let me just tilt this way a little bit so you can see as I spoon what's going on. What's great is that this dough is so pliable right now. It works just like cookie dough. Well, it's a good thing it works just like cookie dough because it is a cookie dough. Oh, schmogen, schmogen, schmogen. You are so silly. It's bitter, but there's still other flavors. Understood. There's a really great chocolatier. You can see their stuff online. It's called Tcho, T-C-H-O. I first stumbled onto them at a chocolate show a few years ago. But what they do is that they have their chocolate bars grouped by flavor profile. So this chocolate bar tastes fruity, this chocolate bar tastes nutty, and so on and so on and so on. But the awesome part of it is that they follow the same recipe per chocolate bar with the ultimate goal of being you can taste the profile difference between all these different kinds of chocolate just by sampling our regular bars. All right, so I know these don't spread much, but I still have to squish these. So let me see if I can get 3 across. I know that's risky, but you know what? I feel like baking risky. You think you have the chocolate before? They are good? They are good. They are real good. And the last time I made these cookies, I let them bake for about 15 minutes, which was just enough, I think. But as with any cookies, just want to make sure that they are slightly browned, slightly set on the edges. I think that's going to be enough. All right. Handy dandy fork for peanut butter cookies. Press down 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. All that coffee I had today is really, really making an impact on me right now. I can't keep my hands steady. And of course, for something that you said earlier, Mr. Fartbrains, it just came to my mind right now that I do have a load of laundry to do. I don't know where it came to be that those who make peanut butter cookies usually make these crosshatch patterns with a fork. I'm not sure where that tradition began. Maybe that's something we can Google. But this is just the only time-consuming part about making the cookies, is just making these crosshatches. And then when the timer goes off behind me, I will be able to check on the dinner portion of our program. Try to time it right, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. My friend owns a chocolate shop in DC. We spent a lot of time and money there. I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. Yep, as soon as I finish this word battle, I am totally going and making some of those. I am hungry. Hopefully I have peanut butter in the cupboard. Well, let's put it this way. The great thing is that this recipe does scale very easily because there are a lot of whole numbers here. So if you only have a cup of peanut butter, you just do a cup of peanut butter, a cup and a half of confectioner sugar, or 3/4 of a cup of granulated, and then your various spices plus 1 egg. So I would say you can do these cookies with a minimum of 1 cup of peanut butter, because you have to do a whole egg in that case, rather than 2. But these come out a little on the larger side. Let me get the dough out of the way. So everyone's day going well, I hope. Mr. Fartbrains, I was glad to catch your stream before. I don't think I was ever able to catch a stream before. At least I don't remember. I might have. But hey, you're a baseball nerd, you're a math nerd, and that's perfect timing. So that beep is it telling me that it just finished with the, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but I do have one of the Instapots, and I've been using it to pressure cook large lima beans, and the steady beeping just means it's done with the cooking phase and is now going through the natural release phase. So I'm going to let it do that for a few minutes so I can get this second batch pressed, the second batch of cookies, I mean. Because then these go in for about 15 minutes. And then they rest for 15. Great. And that, my friend, is a large onion. Let me put these veggies with the dinner kit. And let's get these puppies in the oven. Perfect fit. Timer. Okay. Cool. It was great to have you. Now it'll be enjoyable. I'm a bit all over the place usually. Hey, that's fine. Sometimes live TV, that's the best way to go. I'm hoping to get an Instant Pot this month yet. They are extraordinarily versatile. I use mine probably 95% of the time for rice or beans, though you can saute in it, and I've done recipes. I've done curried potatoes, things along that line. They're perfect for that. I really enjoy it. It was a great gift from my parents, actually. I'm currently streaming from their house. And yeah, essential, I would say. So that set of cookies are in the oven. So, true to form, I'm just going to make, or I'm going to form the last of them. The cookies went into a 350 degree oven, and they are going to be in there for a total of 15 minutes. After about 7, I'm just going to rotate the pan and let it cook for the remaining 8. And meanwhile, I'm getting the second batch ready to rock and roll. And if they're not ready to rock and roll, then they can slow jazz, alternative pop, or whatever it is that makes them happy. I'm not picky. I listen to Eurovision. You gotta like everything, right? I have beans going in the slow cooker right now. Ooh, yeah. What kind of beans do you have going on? You know, as I became older, I took issue with that nursery rhyme, beans, beans, the magical fruit. Because beans aren't a fruit. They're a seed or a legume. Fruits contain seeds and grow on trees. Beans don't necessarily grow on trees. All of a sudden I got a message from a Discord that says, not you. Not you, not me. Okay, I'll look at Discord in a little bit. It's one of the advantages or disadvantages to having a particular smartwatch is that whenever something goes off on Discord, I get the notification on my wrist. So it looks like this batch is going to be slightly smaller than last time. I'm fine with that. They'll be refried eventually. I have notifications turned off for the servers except for my own. I do too. I have notifications turned off except for a few. Some streamers that use Discord announce via Discord if they are going to go live. And between Twitch and Discord, just saying, I usually get the alerts that somebody is going live via Discord. Sometimes I don't get the notification via Twitch. So I use Discord alerts for the particular channels. What do you call them? Rooms? Chat rooms? Hashtag rooms? I forget what they're called in Discord. For example, on my own channel, I have a bot so that when I do go live, in the announcements section, it lets people know. So if you are getting the alerts for the announcements channel, then you'll know when I go live. And that's how I use Discord when it comes to other people's streams. All right, it looks like I'll have exactly enough. And I'm still keeping my eye on the dough to chocolate chip ratio as I'm scooping. It looks like this last one is going to be just enough. And that one I'm going to fill in by hand because it's all crumbs. Crumbs. Done. All right, 2 minutes left for the first rotation. So now I'm going to do this at slightly different speed. I'm going to go all this side, like this. You know, I probably made peanut butter cookies once in my life before last week. And this is twice in less than 7 days that I've made them. 1, 2. So who knows? This might become a thing. It's not my favorite cookie to make because I'm not too much of a peanut butter hound, but sometimes it just works out that way. Uh-huh. I just don't read every one of mine, so just read everything. They must be epic. Yeah, so if you do !Discord in chat, you will get a link to my Discord channel so you can see when I do go live. You could also use my Discord to share recipes, your finished objects if you are a crafter. We also talk sports on that channel, so if you are a fan of baseball or football, then by all means, you can make comments on there. Occasionally on the stream, I have what's called a stitch and pitch. Whoop, there's the first timer. Perfect. Occasionally I have what's called a stitch and pitch. So we talk baseball while knitting at the same time. Mr. Fartbrains knows. He's been there a few times. What's your fave? Do you mean fave cookie? They are looking good. Timer. Now they're going in for the last 8 minutes. Did you mean favorite cookie? Because if you mean that, then I am a fan of your everyday chocolate chip cookie. Yeah, favorite cookie. So I do that. I'm not one for giving away too many secrets on stream, but the way that I like to make my chocolate cookies is that I take the butter and I brown it in a pan first. So I take all the butter, I put it in the pan, I weigh it first, right? So weigh the butter, then put it in the pan, cook it until the butter solids are like a light brunette color. Remove the butter, cool the butter, and then weigh it again. Add water to compensate for how much you lost from the melting and steaming. That's what we call a beurre noisette, and it imparts a very nutty flavor to the butter. So I add that to my cookies. So it's like a very adult version. It's a way to get a nut flavor in a cookie without actually incorporating nuts. But that's my favorite cookie. What leads up to my favorite cookie to make? If somebody knows a really good, yeah, brown butter is beyond amazing. Add in a little bit of sea salt on top of that. Oof. But if anybody is offering me a cookie, one of my favorite types is a black and white cookie. Noted. We'll have to try, Tiger. Yes, yes. And browned butter, by the way, not just good for cookies. If you brown butter in the pan, and then right when it gets to that brunette stage, put in about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, a handful of capers. It's going to splatter a bit, but put that in right away. Put in your herbs. You have what's called a grenobloise, and that can go over fish, it can go over pork, it can go over grilled chicken. So it's kind of this bitter, briny, salty, acidic, yummy butteriness. So brown butter plus lemon juice plus capers plus chive or whatever you got in terms of fresh green herbs. Brown butter is a fresh on. Yeah. Black and white cookie, absolutely. Absolutely. Big fan of that. All right. So there we have it. These are the last batch. So I got 5, 10, 13. I made 26 cookies out of this. So I yielded 2 more cookies when I added chocolate chips. And I still have extra chocolate chips to snack on. Yes. And there's my 100% bar just chilling. I didn't use any of the 100%. So. Alrighty. So I am stealing a bread clip. So many hot sauces. All right, so that is going on. Put that aside. I'm gonna move this over. Okay, the stove is cool. It's exactly what I need it to be. And let me get 2 trivets. Where did I put the trivets? There they are. That's a very risky arrangement. Brown butter is the best on fish and shrimp. Where's, and we're at 60%. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the beans. Now, I made them on the Instapot, and it's kind of hard to see that, so yeah. If they're okay, I'll try to bring them over. But just for the next step, now that the cookies are done, and I'm going to keep my eye on them, I'm now going to focus on making the dinner portion of it, so it's going to be nice and warm and fresh. The cookies will have been rested by the time everything is completed, but I'm going to get everything prepared right in front of all y'all. I'm going to put my ingredients out so you can see what's happening. But first, I'm going to check on the beans, which are right behind me. So they've been cooking at high pressure for 55 minutes. So now I'm going to do the forced release or the quick release of the steam. I'm going to check to see how done they are, and then if they're not done, I'm going to simmer. If they are done, I'm going to put it to warm. So this is the part where it gets loud, whistly, and there's a whole bunch of steam that goes up. More steam than in the House of Representatives when somebody says, "Who wants coffee?" All right, so that's about it. Always wear an oven mitt when you release pressure on a pressure cooker. I don't care who you are. And you can hear the shh. All right, so for the beans, these are the beans I made, large lima beans. They look like large regular beans or so forth when they're dehydrated, but when they're reconstituted, they become absolutely enormous. So they are referred to as gigante beans in some cultures or on some menus. So large lima beans, gigante, boom. I cooked them instead of water. I cooked them in vegetable stock because I figured whatever doesn't actually get incorporated is still going to be loose like water, and that's going to become part of the sauce itself. So if this sits in something liquid, that's fine, absolutely perfect. I'm okay with that. So that's what's got going on. So I have the large lima beans, I have the cooking stock doing their magical thing. There was a blacksmith at the festival this weekend. He was making coals with his bare hands. He could probably do without a mitt, yeah. There are people that have worked as baristas or chefs, and I've seen them handle really hot steam cups without any kind of mitt or towel. I've seen pastry chefs work with sugar with their bare hands. There's going to be a certain time where you develop an actual tolerance for that. Sort of like when you knit and you kind of get calluses on the tip of your thumb and index fingers over time. It's something that just happens when you handle the needle. I'm sure that happens when it comes to heat resistance. So now that this is set, let's see what we got. These look beautiful. All right. All right, let's see what I can do here. All right, so some of these beans that you're going to see on camera are actually broken down, but there it is. And that's a quarter for reference. So these are a little bit larger in size than an American quarter to give you an idea about how much larger these get. So I'm just going to stir them in. See how well they cooked. put a little cold water. They are done. They don't need any more work at all. That's hot. First batch is out. So if you're making this recipe, after you take them out of the oven, they have to sit on the pan for about 10 minutes. So let me just put the timer back on. And I'm going to let that go. Baristas don't use a towel on the steam cup because they know the temperature of the milk by feel, right? But you know what I mean. Something that's so hot, they don't really matter, or they don't really care about the overall temperature. All right, let's put some spices away. It's true. I was a barista for 10 years. I didn't know that. Okay. So these are going to be what are added in. So I have diced tomatoes because I didn't want to bother working with it. Plus they were on sale. So yeah. So I got the diced tomatoes. I'm going to keep the liquid from there as well. I have 1 large onion, bell pepper, 2 jalapenos, and I'm also going to seed. Always cut the spicy peppers dead last, people. Otherwise, you're going to be working with burning hands all throughout. Something I did not do, which was very silly of me, is usually I put onions in the freezer. There's the telephone. Usually I put onions in the freezer for about an hour, for reasons I'll explain as I cut through it. Who was that? Line in use. But yeah. Anyway, and I had my bowl. It's going to go all into here. So yeah, the reason why I like to cut or chill the onion before I cut it is because when you cut through an onion, what makes your eyes cry is a reaction of what's called allicin and alanine. When you cut through an onion cell, all those acids actually combine, turn into a vapor, and that sulfonic gas mixes with salt water, e.g. your teardrops, and creates sulfuric acid. Nothing enough to burn your eyes off, but enough to cause a lot of discomfort. So by freezing for a short while the onion, it slows that reaction down when they do mix, prohibiting the amount of sulfuric acid that actually is produced. All right, so now I got the onion, the bell pepper. This is bell pepper, not an onion. Cut. I did forget to rinse it. Oops. There we go. Yeah, so there have been a lot of urban legends about how you can stop your eyes from crying when you use onions by putting a slice of bread in your tongue, or by, I don't know, holding your left ankle while you pray to Juju, something like that. I don't know. But the only thing is, the reason why you cry is because of chemical reaction. So the only way to halt the chemical reaction is to stop what's producing the gas. And the only way to do that is to chill it. Boba and I were talking about freezing onions yesterday, coincidentally. Yeah, well, that's a cool thing to do. Oh. All right. So let's get these Oh. Cut. Let's see if I can flatten that just a little bit to get this membrane out. The white part of a pepper, not digestible. It's not disgusting, just your body can't break it down. I always heard matchstick, which is funny. Okay, goggles will work because with goggles you're covering your eyes, so it doesn't have the opportunity to do its nastiness. But then that's just another piece of equipment. Matchstick doesn't really work either because that assumes that the gas that's coming off is flammable or burn away. And it's not. It's not. It's, again, the half of the components that make sulfuric acid. So that's not really going to work either. So the only thing that really does is going to be if you slow down that reaction. All right. Now, my culinary chefs would not be happy with the evenness of these peppers. But you know what? They're not here. You are. And you are what matter, Pat. You matter. Where am I at? 4 minutes of the cooling. Get these into matchsticks as best as I can first. The last one's not going to be even. Tell a sad story and just roll with it. Well, that one is nice. Like, let me just tell you about what happened with me today. Yeah. Or my favorite is that when somebody is crying over something sad and silly, then the catchphrase is, there must be ninjas chopping onions in this room. Darn ninjas cutting onions. Yeah, so some of these slices are not going to be even, but you know what? That don't matter. That don't matter. Yeah, this is probably not a good idea to cut this many at once, especially because my mom's and dad's knife here isn't particularly sharp. And I'm watching my knuckles real carefully. This is the dangerous part. Do not cut things like this, people. Especially not that many things. Phew. So what's it like where everybody is? Is somebody making dinner? Somebody making dessert? What are people eating tonight? Wherever you are in the world. Now somebody mentioned I have beans on. We got beans going on here. And then by the end of this, I'll have my peppers done. the crunchiness of fresh green pepper. Yummy. In Vancouver, Wi-Fi, where we're getting ready for a heat wave this week, going to be 75, eating leftover salad rolls for late lunch. Oh, Vancouver, wait a minute. Y'all have Thanksgiving coming up, right? Or did that already pass? Either case, happy Thanksgiving. I completely blanked on that. Alright, so first batch can come off. Now I'm tired of this cutting board slipping, so I just wet a paper towel and I'm putting that underneath to keep it from moving. It's doing a good job now. Vancouver, Washington, across the river from Portland, Oregon. Well, okay then. At least I know my geography. Just not my American civil geography. Alright, so now I'm just going to remove, that's a spatula now. I'm just going to remove the cookies from the first tray. Put them aside. And by the way, they look gorgeous. Hey Phoebe, how you doing? Okay. Peanut butter cookies, mostly done. Now the second batch is going in. Timer. No. Timer. 7 minutes. Not as exciting. Vancouver, BC is about 5 hours north and one of my favorite places to visit. Note to self, next time mix cookies in Ninja. Mix cookies in Ninja? What do you mean by mix cookies in Ninja? Nice. So by the way, if I start crying, it's not because somebody in chat said something sad. It's because I'm chopping a very large sweet onion. Is anybody else like me in chat? That's very weird. I really love tasting raw onion. It's just sweet and spicy at the same time. And of course, best of all, if somebody wants to talk to you after you just had a massive piece of onion, nobody really...
I like the red onion.
You like the red onion?
Yeah.
Shema Jamam says she likes red onion.
I love red onion. I don't like the white ones. They taste funny.
Hey. So, there she is. I shouldn't be pointing with my knife.
Hello.
Hello, she goes. So, I'm just doing a very rough chop of the onions because, well, why the heck not? By the way, you want to take a look behind me on the microwave?
What's on the microwave?
On, not in.
Cookies! Yay!
See, we like cookies in this household.
You're funny, Mike.
Those who don't like cookies in their households are not very happy people indeed.
Yeah, well, you know, that's the way the ball bounces.
It is the way the ball bounces. Alright, so let me just do a rough chop of these here.
Ooh, parsley. Yes, I love parsley.
Hi, Shmaja Mom, says Mr. Fartbrains. It's one of my viewers, one of my regulars. His name is Mr. Fartburns.
That's good. I love it.
There we go. So you got the seal of approval. Shallots for everything. Sweet. I agree with you, Tig Girl. I usually do shallots for some of my main courses like pork dishes and so forth, but in this case, I'm craving onion, and I thought I would get a large onion to satisfy my needs. Okay. Anyway, my mom was embarrassed by it, so love your mom. Please adopt me. She heard that. She heard that. Oh, come on, have a sense of humor. So, I don't know if this is an appropriate story time, but it has come up quite often. Why Schmodgen? Where did that name come from? What's the deal with it? What does it mean? But the best way that I can describe is that there's this game that existed for the Nintendo 64 called Perfect Dark. It was based, or it's made by Rareware, and it was based off the same engine as the ubiquitous and classic game GoldenEye. But you played a secret agent, and there was some sort of government cover-up involving aliens and one that escaped, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, it was mission-based, and if you fail your mission, you die, of course, and you might have to start your entire game all over again. Needless to say, I wasn't very good at games, and to this day, unless it's Super Mario Brothers or The Legend of Zelda or anything along that line, I'm still not really great at games. So I kept on starting over and over and over and typing in, my real name is Mike, like Mike, Mikey, Michael, and so forth, just to make it a little different and fun, and I got so tired of it that I left it on Schmagent. I pronounced it Schmagent at the time, Agent Schmagent. Now, we borrowed this game from a friend, and when we returned it, it didn't delete that profile. So he calls up my brother and goes, who the hell is this Schmagent person? So one thing led to another, and now that is the way that I refer to myself with anything involving gaming, Schmagent. So anytime I do a call off at the very end of my streams and I say my name is Schmagent or Schmagent, any pronunciation is correct, it's because it is. I created the moniker as Schmagent, Agent Schmagent, whatever, let's get this game over with. But what stuck was Schmagent because that was the mispronunciation that was just memorable throughout the years. So that's the reason why I always say Schmagent, Schmagent, either one is correct. And there you have it, the very long story about where my name came to be. All right, so that's two. Let me think now how I'm gonna do this because the cookies have to go somewhere when they come out of the oven. I don't want to burn anything I put them on. Okay. So, by the way, the last thing I'm going to cut are the jalapeno peppers. And I even have funny stories with that, too. So, does anybody have any interesting or short story about where your Twitch handle had come from? I'm just curious to see what's out there. I'm going to get a large pan. I knocked a few lids over. Please tell me you heard all of that. Please tell me you heard the crashing coming from the closet. timer. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Mr. Farbrains is the name of a comic book company I made up in 6th grade. Is everyone okay? Yes. So right next to the pans in the closet, all the lids are stacked up on each other. And I took out a very large pan and accidentally knocked over the lids. Everybody's fine. Everybody's okay. Not the glass ones. Oh God, no. Okay, so when the cookies come out of the oven, they're going on the kitchen table.
Oh boy.
Because that's where I have room for them. And we have a lazy Susan there who's not being completely
Well, if
lazy.
your friend wants me to adopt him, he's going to have to like the Northeast.
Ah! Well, he really likes the East Coast because he's a Nats fan, a
What's that?
Washington Nationals baseball team.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, nobody's perfect, but.
I love it.
All right. So before I start frying everything, I'm trying to see if there's a way that yeah, there's a way I can do this. What am I talking about? This is not going to be a problem at all. So this is everything that I chopped up. I forgot I'm going to add garlic, so let me go and get that.
Oh, garlic. I love garlic. I could eat it raw.
Mr. Fartbrains just heard mine. My last name sounds like Tig or has Tig in it. In high school, everyone started using that as my nickname, and I'm a girl, so Tig Girl because I have a tiny kitchen. Mr. Fartbrain's nice. It wasn't that loud. If you adopt me, I'll like whatever you tell me to like.
That's cute.
Aww.
Oh, boy.
All right.
Do we have enough garlic?
Do we have enough garlic? I don't know. We have about 5 or 6 heads here. So that's the thing, is that...
You ever go to the garlic festival?
Oh, yeah. Love the garlic festival.
Oh, my God. Oh, God. They have so many different variations of garlic. It's unbelievable.
Oh.
I had no clue that there were so many.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if they have it where all y'all are at, but here in the Northeast, there is a garlic festival, or at
There's
least in Lower
several
New
of
York. Well, I can imagine.
Yeah,
But,
there's 7. There's one in Connecticut, too, in Bethlehem.
yeah, a few years ago.
And one in Saugerties.
Yeah, a few years ago, my ex told me of this place called the Garlic Festival, and I thought one of two things. Either this was going to be a complete and utter travesty, be one of the most boring things ever because it's something about garlic, or for the exact same reason, it was going to be one of the most fantastic culinary experiences you can ever get to.
It was fantastic.
Fortunately, yes, it was one of the most fantastic culinary experiences that I have been to. Side note, to this day, one of the things I sourced there the first time I went was a hot sauce that was made from blueberries and Carolina Reaper peppers.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It was sweet and extremely spicy at the same time, and I've not been able to go back to get it. I'm cutting off all the little brown bits.
Brown bits, okay.
Because the brown bits are just overdone. And you know what? Nobody likes brown bits
No, definitely not.
in their dinner.
No.
And I always cut off the little
I
stems.
do have a
off.
chopper, though, for those.
Yeah, but what's the fun in that?
Oh, okay.
Whoa!
Ah! Gotta rinse it off.
Ah.
Okay. One less.
One less. Unless you want to grab me another clove or two, it's up to you.
Where did you put it back here?
Yeah, put the knob back where it was. Sounds awesome. Boba loves garlic. Absolutely. I mean, there was garlic ice cream, all sorts of pickles.
Garlic peach pie. And boy, was that good. Here.
There we go. Tig Girl. No, Raven White missed the writing down. Was the oven at 350 for the cookies? Yes. Actually, if anybody wants to make a clip of it, here's the recipe right here. It's also in the Discord if you go to !Discard. It's 2 cups of peanut butter, 1.5 cup of granulated sugar, or or 2 3/4 cups of powdered or confectioner sugar. 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons baking soda, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, or 2 teaspoons of baking powder if you've used confectioner sugar. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. So yeah, it's 350 degrees. Mix all ingredients. It doesn't matter the order. And the scoop that I used was a 2 tablespoon scoop. Because it was a 2 tablespoon scoop, I set it for 15 minutes rather than 10. That was it. I used 3 heads of garlic. Wait. My friend made a sauce once. That's when we learned that he didn't know the difference between a head and a clove of garlic. He made 3 heads of garlic. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine how A, it smelled, B, how all y'all's breath smelled at the end of such an amazing accident such as that. Yeah, but the Garlic Festival is a very fun thing to go to, so if there is anything like that in your area, then I highly suggest giving it a check. Because you support your local businesses, you support your local farmers, and you know what? It's going to be a fun day out, rain or shine. But unfortunately, as it turns out, I have not been back to said festival in about 2 or 3 years for one reason or another. Did a half batch, but smaller cookies, 2 dozen cookies. Oh, okay. Just keep your eye on them. When you take them out of the oven, if you didn't already, when you take them out of the oven, they're going to be softer than you think they need to be. And because the cookies are brown anyway, because of the peanut butter, leave them on the pan for about 10 minutes before you remove them. So they're going to be done sooner than you think they are. And yeah, that's just it. Just food for thought. Now, what I should have done is mise en place this before starting stream, so I don't have to worry about competing with my battery power. I'm at 38% battery power, so I'm not going to have the second camera for that much longer. All right. All right. And yes, I'm leaving this chunky because I like my garlic chunky style. I wish there was a rule of thumb when it comes to cooking with something like garlic, because it's one of those things where people usually use too little, unless you happen to be a certain friend that uses 3 heads rather than 3 knobs. And that's the second batch, so let me get that out. Really? Has it been that much time already? And the joke goes that even in a recipe of how to cook 1 clove of garlic, it says to use 3. So, yeah, I'll defer to that judgment. Checking at 7 minutes. We are currently getting strung out with 4. Yay! GF cooking is gluten-free cooking is way different. That man is a doctor now. Scary, huh? Ha ha ha. That would be an intense sauce. Yeah. But, yes, check after 7 minutes. What you're going to check for, if I can give you a tip, is that when you just lightly tap the edge of the cookie with your finger, does it feel like it's bouncing back? If it is, it's probably done. So check it after 7 or 8 minutes. The regular recipe says to scoop about 1.5 tablespoons per cookie, and then after 9 to 10 minutes it's done. All right, so let me get these out, and then I can turn off the oven. timer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. And now, let's preheat the pan. Anyway. So yeah, right now I'm just chopping things, and then I'm going to change the camera so you can see how things are going to fry up. But fortunately, this is going to be very easy to put together, and simple. I'm streaming off, well, of course, anything easy is simple, isn't it? This is what I call trying to pay attention and not cutting my fingers off at the same time trying to narrate a show. It's not as easy as it looks, is it? No, it's not. Cool, good to know. I think mine are maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons, 3/4 of a tablespoon. Okay, so after about 7 minutes or so, just touch the sides of it. Again, when they come out, they're going to feel a lot softer than you think they are to be done. All right, here we go. I'm cutting the capsicum. Cut it lengthwise the best that I can. So, if... what was the name of that movie? Some Like It Hot. Who was in that? I can't remember. But if you like it spicy, and I mean if you like this dang spicy, you can leave the membrane and the seeds in, but it will be very hot. If you like to control the level of heat you have with this recipe, then if you're going to control the heat you have with this recipe, then take out the seeds in the membrane, because you can always make something hotter by adding in hot sauce or red pepper flakes or whatever it is later on, but you cannot make it cooler. You cannot make a recipe less spicy unless you add in milk or sugar, which obviously is not going to go in a tomato-based sauce. There's no milk or sugar in tomato-based sauce. I mean, you can add in a lot of butter, yeah, but I don't want to make it like that. So I'm cutting out the white membrane. And yeah, I got a huge hot sauce collection anyway, so I'm not worried about this being not spicy enough. But I am making this as well for somebody that generally doesn't like too much heat, and I'm cutting off way too much of the fruit. It's not good. Plus, jalapeno is not that expensive, guys. Tony Curtis, Jack Lemmon, We Giada Now fam. Jack Lemmon, Maryland, Tony Curtis. Who was the other guy? Check out. Okay. There we go. Alrighty. Okay, was it a few weeks ago on the stream that somebody brought up the movie Clueless? Because that was, I think, one of the 2 films that, when Cher was trying to go after, what's his name, in that movie, he brought over 2 movies, Some Like It Hot and Sporadicus. She meant Spartacus. Now, make sure that your hands are fully clean after you handle any hot pepper. Oh my goodness. paper towels over here. Parents' neighbor is the illegitimate daughter of Tony Curtis. I have all sorts of connections today. I will make no questions. I should have kept hydrating. I should have kept hydrating. Okay. I'm just going to use a little bit of oil. About 2 or 3 tablespoons. This is going to be a large quantity of food. And let me just change the orientation of the camera here so you can see my tea handle. There we go. There you are. Yeah, it's taking its time to warm up, but I can already smell the oil, which is good. It's not shimmering yet. Her mom was a beauty queen in Great Britain, and evidently they hooked up back in the day. A real TV chef would say, put this in a ripping hot. She didn't know Mr. Daughter started asking questions and found pictures of her mom and Tony, and then Anne finally spilled the beans. Pan, hot pan. Yeah, I just realized I didn't chop the parsley. I still have parsley to cut, but you know what? That's going to go into the very, 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 very end anyway. Fresh herbs at the end, dry herbs at the beginning. All right, so I'm just waiting for that to heat up. Meanwhile, everything else is pretty much all set. I'm going to sneak a cookie right here. So this is the one that I just made. The bottom is slightly browner than the top. It's done. It's nice and chewy in the middle. Let me see if I can get it in the camera. Yeah, it's nice and chewy in the middle. So when I break it open, oh yeah, nice and crumbly. So you can see that. You can see the chips just chilling out there in the dead center. So, peanut buttery, chewy. The outside is just crispy enough so you don't have to worry about it falling apart. No flour. The only thing that's binding this together is the egg, a little bit of the cornstarch from the confectioner sugar. It's the only thing holding this together. See, it's just a nice, chewy cookie. That's it. Okay. Okay, we're good. And the chocolate just adds to it. Cookies might be on the menu tonight. And with that, I'm off to pick up my son from school. Have a great rest of the stream. Pig Girl, thank you very much. Thank you for being part of the stream itself. Thank you for joining in chat. Of course, if you want the cookie recipe, totally shareable. Just join the Discord if you haven't already, and you can find the recipe under the recipes sub-channel. A little too much baking powder. You don't have to worry about that. But what didn't happen about the too much baking powder, though? What ultimately occurred? Second batch of cookies are done. You guesstimate? How did it appear though? Did they puff up too much or what happened? You mentioned there's too much baking powder there. It's tasteable slightly. Well, at least you know. And one of the great joys about baking or cooking is that you can always experiment. You know what? I can tilt the camera toward me more now, and I missed a clove of garlic, but small children won't die. There we go. Let me know if the fan is too loud. And I knock the camera away. Just so velvety and soft. Yeah. It's a simplistic recipe. It doesn't require much, but it's kind of ingenious how it comes out. Now I do need to put in this as salt, because I didn't salt or season this. And just a little bit of black pepper. That's about 2 teaspoons or so. All the water from the onions and the pepper is escaping now. There's a small hole in the middle of it all. Oh yeah, don't you know? So the last ingredients that are going to be going in, again, is a can of diced tomatoes. And I only have crushed red pepper on the standby, just in case I don't like the heat level. If it's not spicy enough, it's going to be amped up by the red pepper flakes. If it's too spicy, then whoops. But anyway. Again, this particular recipe is something that I've sort of improvised. The cooking recipe I found online, and I made certain substitutions based upon the spices and the sugars that I have available. But the recipe that I'm doing now is just improvised with looking at the ratio for reheating those beans, which I should stir, and also just sauteing onions, green peppers, just to get the water out of it. Just to make it nice and good. I don't like the beans are somewhat mushy. I probably cooked them for a little too long, but it'll be fine, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. So how's this for a change of pace, eh? Instead of a knitting stream, you get a cooking stream. A little bit of earring making thrown in there. You're making BLTs with the cookies for dinner. BLTs with the cookies? I mean, I know you don't mean with the cookies, but I mean alongside. Cooking interspersed in the evening, yeah. I did this last week when I made a batch of the cookies, or I made that batch. First thing. And that ended up being a very popular adaptation, plus I found it very interesting and I like doing it. But I figured tonight I'd try to make an entire meal of dinner and dessert. And it's been about 2 hours so far, and it looks like it's going to be within there. So in order to make this okay, because my mom doesn't like a lot of heat, I'm going to reserve some of the jalapeno peppers to add in after. So for the leftovers, I'm going to add the rest of the jalapenos in, but I'm just going to put one in first. Cookies are the bread? When I finally get brave enough, I'll be streaming cooking and writing. Go for it. You know, you really don't have anything to lose. And it's not a case of... I can't say it's about being brave. Because the great thing about streaming in general, and please stop me if you feel that I'm wrong, if you feel differently, but I'm fairly introverted when it comes to going to a party or so forth. If I don't know a lot of people there, I might tuck myself in the corner and become quite the wallflower. But when it comes to streaming, y'all are there, and I can be myself, and I feel more free to say what I want to say, even though I can't edit myself. So it's not a case of being brave, just turn on the camera, and whether or not there's 0 viewers or 10,000 viewers, you won't really know unless you watch that count. So be yourself either way, have fun, don't worry about if anybody's watching, just be the person that you want to broadcast on stream. You always tuck yourself in the corner, you don't like big groups. Introvert as well. You know, introverts unite. Introverts unite. I don't like how some people look upon introversion as something that is not a good thing. It just means that we tend to get our energy in solitude or in introspection, which is cool, which is fine. You know, for all you know, I'd be wearing pajama pants right now and slippers and all of that stuff, which, okay, fine, whatever. Probably won't be acceptable for anything other than a slumber party, but at least I'm comfortable, and I could be more myself, and I could put myself in a familiar situation, broadcasting what I want to say or do to whomever may be tuning in. So you don't have to worry about being brave or not. Just do it. Be yourself. Get out there and do and say what you want to do. People see me even worse, hear me. I'm wearing a panda onesie because it's cute. Okay, fine. Do what you gotta do. Okay, so right now, with the onions, the peppers, and the garlic in the pan, stirring it around, it looks like they've given up all their water because the onions are sticking a little bit. No doubt the salt helps a little bit with surrendering some of that liquid. So I'm just going to cook it a little bit more, but the onions are becoming pearlescent. Now, if I had celery in here, I would have a Creole Trinity, celery, onion, and bell pepper. The French version of it is celery, onion, and carrot. That's a mirepoix. That's for French cooking. It's what you see as a general foundation for a lot of sauces or simple dishes. But the Trinity is onion, celery, bell pepper, garlic in there as well. But you see that in French cooking too. Yeah, it smells great. And it's not even halfway there. It's going to get the tomatoes added in there. And then off camera, I have the beans as well. I'm trying to be as clean as possible because this is my parents' kitchen, so I don't want to make a lot of mess. Yeah, but adding in the garlic and the onion and the pepper all at the same time, they cook fairly evenly. I don't have to worry about burning the garlic before the onion goes in. They're all just making happy little flavors in the pan. Again, 2 or 3 tablespoons of oil is all that I added. I could go more. Pan is not completely dry. It's just really, really close. It's sweet right now. It is sweet. So I'm just gonna let cook, do its thing. Got the beans over there. Let me open up. You can. Oh my god. This is really scary, this can opener. Wow. You're running the mill can opener. It's creaking worse than Witch House's. Oh, it didn't make the full cut. And now the onions are starting to stick. If I wanted to, I could brown these a little bit, but I really don't want that. We got some of the juice. Just some. So this was a 28 ounce or 1 pound can of crushed tomatoes. So I find that works better, at least for this. And this is like kind of a weird sauce in that you wouldn't put this on top of spaghetti. But if you add olives to this, maybe some capers for that briny taste, this will make a fairly decent puttanesca with the onions in there, the bell peppers, got the fresh tomatoes. What I do want to do is I want to cook this long enough so the tomatoes break down a little bit, and then I'm going to recheck for seasoning. I'm going to add in about half jalapenos. I have one of those. Keep my cooler for travel. You know those can openers? You have one of those can openers? You know, y'all, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. There are no sporting games, or there's no sporting event on. Or at least none that I would regularly watch, you know? Yeah, it's Wednesday night, but I don't think there's Wednesday night football. All of the Division League Series baseball games are over. So we got the Dodgers playing the Brewers, and we have the Red Sox playing the Astros. My pick is going to be on the Astros, and please, 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 please be the Brewers. I'm neutral about the Astros. I really don't have any feeling either way about Red Sox versus Astros. I just think it would be a, whoa, what happened there? I lost the other camera. That was weird. What was I about to say? Yeah, I'm neutral about Astros versus the Red Sox. I don't have any particular favorite between those two teams. However, I think it's going to be a sweet story if the Astros repeat. That'll be cool. That's fine. But I really, Mr. Fartbrains knows, I really don't want the Dodgers in the World Series. Or if they do get there, I want them to be crushed. Like, I don't want it to be a Dodgers series again. Astros are looking as good right now. Okay, that's cool. I'm fine. It's sort of like when I was watching Rockies versus Brewers. I didn't have any preference as to who would go past. Really didn't. I was just hoping that either team does well enough to continue. But I really did not want the Dodgers to go through. They are the Yankees of the West Coast. Does anybody, I know NFB, you've been in the channel quite a bit, you're a regular, but anybody else watching, commenting, lurking, have any favorite teams that are playing in local sports right now? So my other team is the New Orleans Saints. And they had a historic week, or rather Drew Brees had a historic week, by having the career passing yards record taken away from Peyton Manning. So now Drew Brees is an active player that has a career passing yards record, might get the touchdown record as well, where he's on track to defeat that. So this is going to be a very interesting season. It's not as hot as I thought it would be, but then again, the jalapenos aren't, they have no seeds in it, and they're fairly evenly distributed. Plus the sugars from the onion might be detaining their heat a little bit. See a jalapeno rich bite there. I don't do sports at all. Sorry. Unless I'm watching knitting at the same time, it's considered an extreme sport. No, you know, speaking about knitting in sports, this is a thing. This is a thing. There is something called speed knitting, where the objective is to time yourself knitting 20 rows, or whatever method of measurement, up to you. You time yourself doing 20 rows, and then time yourself doing it again. So the way that I like to play that game, and maybe us knitters, if there's a gang of us watching chat, I'm putting this out there just as a, let's see if we can do this. But if we agree on a washcloth pattern, maybe 25 stitches by 30 rows, we could see if we could time ourselves knitting a piece of fabric that's 25 stitches by 20 rows, or 30 rows. See how long it takes and make this kind of speed knitting community. I mean, yeah, I know the charity thing on Twitch that they feature is AGDQ, Awesome Games Done Quick. But there's nothing saying that the acronym can't stand for Amazing Garments Done Quick. I'm just saying. Speed knitting? Oh yeah, we can do that. We could totally do that. The longer you cook the jalapenos, the less hot they are. Cooking takes down the heat. True. That's why I got 2. It's seeded. I got hot sauce. I got red pepper flakes as well. Because I like heat, I really do, but I also don't want to make something that's going to be nuclear in somebody's face, so. Plus I took out all the seeds, so it's not going to be a big deal. But you know what? It's almost time. So. This is probably going to be overcrowding that pan now, so I don't want to do that. Hang on. All right. Okay. Triba. Okay. I prefer less heat, but I enjoy jalapeno seed. We would have to decide on a standard yard weight needle size at least. We could do that, but yeah, I can see that. Somebody knitting 25 stitches on sock weight yarn versus 25 stitches on a bulky weight yarn, I could see that there's going to be a difference. But I would imagine the most common weight we could see would be worsted weight, maybe? And the most cheaply available yarn would be acrylic yarn, so maybe it's going to be a case of bring your own needles, but if we can agree on a yarn, and gauge wouldn't matter because it's about speed. Maybe? I think that'll be a good way to go. All right.
It's gonna be a long week without you. And I know you'll be up in that airplane, and I know you won't be here till Sunday night. We haven't even made it to first base, but I think we already hit a home run. I just wanna feel love.
I'm getting the low battery warning. 1 second. Let me take care of that. There we are. I'll come in last. I'll still have fun. I don't think that'll be the point. The point wouldn't be to win it. The point is going to be to have fun. And those that partake in speed dating, that at least that I'm aware of, see it more as an opportunity to gauge where they're at personally, not necessarily a competition like we would see with speedrunning or so on. So at least that's the way that I would interpret it. So I wouldn't think of it as a situation where you're coming in first or last. This came out to be perfect. Oh boy. Now I lost my second camera because my battery was low, but just so you could see, doesn't look too appetizing, I know, right now. But what's going to happen is I'm going to mix up the beans that I already cooked in the vegetable stock. And I have all these veg here. The last thing I'm going to add is the last bits of jalapeno and some fresh chopped parsley. So I'm going to be doing that off camera while I'm chatting with you face to face, because that's the way we do it. I'm mostly joking. I see people slower than me all the time. To each their own, MFB. To each their own. Oh my goodness, look at this. Like a supermodel from the late 90s. It's all stems. Let's get that done. Let's set that. Now, if you like to make your own stock or make your own soup, save the stems, because then you can make a sort of, oh, it smells so good. You can make your own bouquet garni. These have plenty of flavor in them. You just don't want to eat them, really. So save your stems if you'd like to make stock. If you don't, or have no reason to, you could toss them, which is what I'm doing here. I don't have any reason to keep them, because I'm not going to be making stock anytime soon. I will crush them. I'm not competitive. Not at all. I'm not competitive. They must die. Here we go. Let's take some more. I'm going to have a lot of dishes to do tonight. My word. I'll just take these. Alright, so yeah, I'm just getting the parsley chopped up, and then I'm going to mix it in as best as I can. Because the pot from which I'm making this amazing dinner, I say amazing in quotes, the pot is just large enough for it. Okay. Clean as you go. done, some of my early streams, I mean from early 2017, what I had done was to just time myself how long it took to make particular garments. So my vision of speed knitting back then was to have the timer up, just like you would see on speedrunner streams, timing myself for particular rows or sections of fabric. I'd also try to keep track of how long it took me to make a particular garment. For example, a medium-sized men's sweater knit with worsted weight yarn took me about 36 hours or so, 34, 36 hours. That stream happened long enough ago where I can't remember the exact data. But that was the way I went around it. All right, it's almost go time. Now, something I did not do tonight is I did not make a starch for the dinner. Or rather, I didn't make any kind of pasta or rice to go with this. I figure the beans are going to be enough in terms of fiber and starch as it is. This is more like a bean stew minus the stew part. But all I'm doing here is just mixing it up. I'm going to put about 2 spoonfuls in the bowl, maybe a little more, because we like beans in this house. Yeah, we do. There we go. And now, decorate it a little. Parsley coming out the top. And I like red pepper flakes, so I'm going to add some on mine. And that's good. Let me just make one small correction. You ready for this? Would the speed knitting include the casting on and off? That add on? No. So there's a TV show that had experimented with this. It was a Danish TV show. You could probably find episodes on YouTube. Der Stor Strikedist. That had an episode where the winner of a speed knitting contest got some sort of priority into the final round. So the way that they did it on their show was everybody cast on 25 stitches. And when the 25 stitches went on, they had to knit as many rows as they could in 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, they counted the number of rows, multiplied that by 25, and then the number of stitches they had knit on the row when the timer ended. So that's how they figured out who was the fastest knitters, how many people got the first stitch. And there's no slip stitches, so you don't slip the first stitch of every row, you knit every stitch of every row, no purling, just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's the way that they did it. So I would not count casting on, because even then, even if you do long tail cast on, that's a lot right there. So no counting cast on 25 stitches and knit for 30 rows until it's square. So that's about it. Anyway, y'all hungry for dinner? Because this is what we got. There we go. Hopefully that looks as appetizing to you as it does to me. But that's what we got right there. That's going to be our... Nope, I can't tilt it that much. There we are. So that's going to be our gigante beans with a simple tomato sauce. And there's the 2 plates. So I have some extra red pepper flakes on mine because some like it hot. Thank you, Tony Curtis. And there we have it. All right. So I got 2 mouths to feed here at this abode. So along with that, we have our peanut butter chocolate chip cookies, which are just waiting to be consumed. And because I am a nice boy, sea salt and caramel ice cream, because I can't torture people who can't eat with me enough on this channel. You jumped the count. Bye. But anyway, yeah, that's it. So that was the menu that we completed for today. I'm going to put the menu back up on screen so y'all can see that's what we made. So gigante beans and a tomato sauce. It was more like just some stir-fried sauteed vegetables. Flowers, peanut butter, and chocolate cookies. So that was it. Just don't want to get the food to get cold, yeah. So at this point, I'm going to sign off. I want to say thank you for everybody that did tune in. Thank you for being part of the stream and watching me cook dinner and dessert with you. It took a little bit over 2 hours, which is perfect because here on the East Coast it's 6:45, so perfect dinner and dessert time. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope y'all did too to watch. And I just hope that you join me next time. So just as a teaser, for next time, we're going to be returning to our usual scheduled programming and get some knitting done. I hope to stream tomorrow night after I get home from work. But I picked up this lovely kit from my nearby craft store. So it's the Karen by Pantone. And this is the olive oil colorway. So these are a grand total of about 127 yards of bulky fabric. It's all acrylic, and this is what's going to be knit on the next stream. So until next time, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Shmajan, aka Shmajan. Either pronunciation is correct, as we learned today. And I am usually a knitting streamer here on Twitch. And we'll catch you next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye. And the screen goes black. Usually there's an overlay here, but apparently not today. And the overlay is probably going to come in any time now. There we go. Who wants dinner? Want me to bring it up to you?